full moon in Cancer has us returning to the past so that we can find, rebuild, and strengthen what feels safe and comforting to us in ways that align to what we value and who we want under our crab shells. Hey everyone, it's Christine. Welcome to this video on the full moon in Cancer happening December 26th at 7:32 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, New York City time for reference. Also note that this lunation is occurring on December 27 for many folks around the world, so be sure to check your local time zone calculator to make sure that you ascertain the time. So a lot of things came up as my title, as many of you may have seen, Returning to the Past. And I also read when I was writing that, I got Enya's song, Return to Innocence. So I didn't even unpack that, but look at it and feel into that song as you wish. But there's something here about returning to the past, almost as if we're saying, oh crap, I forgot this. Or simply saying, you know what, it's time I open this and look and see what patterns, what belief systems, what I need to relinquish, redo, rebuild, or completely abandon so that I can move forward. Because I feel like this has a lot to do with our values, the way that we feel emotionally safe in particular, and that extends to other forms of safety, since we are speaking of the Capricorn Cancer axis here, and also how we relate to others. This full moon is really highlighting a lot of the energy of home, not the mundane aspect most people denote when they talk about Cancer, but what does home mean to you and where is it? Again, not the physical part, because it's really asking us to look at the profundity, the deepness, the depth, I should say, of everything that we have learned and that we know right now to this point in our soul journey, and to ask us, okay, this lunation is really bringing up some topics or themes related to the past and this area of my life that this full moon is highlighting. So check out your natal chart, because there's something here that wants to connect, almost like a puzzle piece that's informing us, that wants us to remember, but that also wants us to do something differently, markedly differently. And we have that here with the energies, with the North Node and with Chiron, both in Aries. So think beyond your physical structure, like I said, with home. Home in relation to your heart, the cosmos, your consciousness, why you're here, and the people you define as family. Because regardless of where this lunation is happening, because some of you, it may be traversing through your 6th house and you're like, what the hell? Or 9th house, but it all comes into play. It all interrelates and it'll all speak to you. As usual, we are going to look at the energetic alignment, the aspects of transits themselves, degree theory, Sabian Symbol, numerology, and unpack some channeled messages I've received. I got 4 for this lunation, and we are also going to unpack some channeled songs. I also provided, as usual, the link to this lunation below so you could follow, unless you have your own astrology software or program. That'll help you just simply follow along and pinpoint anything that you want to pinpoint or take note of for your own personal reference. I also encourage you to have paper or something to write on, so any messages that come up for yourself, any questions, you can jot down to reflect, because the way I do videos, I really ask a lot of questions. It's a little bit of including like journaling prompts, because it helps you grow, it helps you think, it helps you connect to your own intuition and your own psychic messages rather than me telling you what's happening. Because overall, when I took a cursory look at the chart, you know, apart from the usual tension of the opposition itself with the sun and the moon, and we have a few squares, I feel like these are almost doorstop moments, because overall there is a tremendous amount of growth from Jupiter, from Saturn, from the North Node, and even Chiron, that's asking us, okay, go forward, keep going, you can make progress, you've got this, help is on the way. But there's a few snafus, and I feel like they're, of course, related with Neptune and with Mercury, so there's some emotional aspect, intellectual as well, that's going to be clouding us or presenting some type of challenge as we wade through these energies. But I feel like as we get more into January 2024, we're going to receive a lot more information, practically and also intuitively, as things are unfolding. Something else that came up before we deep dive into what I've mentioned is to continuously tap into what you're feeling, but also do those reality checks where you're looking outside of you and you're making sure, okay, I'm not just deluding myself or imagining myself, especially with romantic relationships. I'm going to be upfront and say that with folks, because sometimes you feel something energetically, but you're not seeing that in the 3D. So people can have the tendency to delude themselves, especially with this Neptune square. So I just want to throw that out there. Pay attention to what's happening in the 3D in a practical, logical way as much as possible. Just a reminder, the archetype of the moon, of Cancer, the moon is ruled by Cancer. So this deals with issues and themes around the material world, fortune, matter, the body, physical body, I should say, coming into this world in terms of birth or conception, right? Think of it like the birth canal. In the Thema Mundi, it was the birth canal. So you can think of it like sliding down. You know, when you go through slides, there's holes. Your inner environment, your feelings. It also speaks to the mother, nourishment, self-care, comfort, the unconscious, memories. I put souvenirs and nostalgia, anything with remembrance into this. So the full moon occurs when the earth is between the sun and the moon. So that's why you see the moon is illuminated. Just a reminder, because with the new moon, it's the opposite and you don't see that. It's dark. And I feel like in spite of some of these tense aspects, which we will get into, it really is asking us, do I want to keep experiencing this, or is this happening because it's on repeat and there's something that I need to change within myself or respond differently, or am I not seeing something, or is the situation, has it expired? Because with Cancer energy, there's a birthing aspect here. There's something that wants to come in and be renewed or rebirthed in a different way. On its axis, we have Capricorn. So that speaks of decay, of death, of the physical world, as well of endings, of completions. So there's something here that wants to end so that it can start. And it has to do with these themes. So we have the sun opposing the moon, obviously, because this is the full moon. So they're at odds. So again, there's a general confrontation happening with these two areas. Take a look at your natal chart, the Cancer area of your life and the Capricornian area of your life. Because I don't want to be general and say it's going to be home and life or home and work, because for everyone, it's not going to be that way. It may be a totally different house, but you'll have similar energies from Cancer and Capricorn. So take a look, because that's where you're going to find some type of competing tension energy, something that needs to be balanced there. That's asking you, okay, what is something new that you may want in this area of your life that you haven't seen or you've tried, or maybe you have to do a different way so that you can get the outcome, or at least go in the direction towards the outcome that you desire. We also have the sun trining Jupiter in Taurus and the sun in Capricorn, sextiling Saturn in Pisces. And if any of you don't watch my weekly energy readings, I mentioned in that, whenever I meditate on these energies and whenever I look at the particular transits and the aspects, I always create some type of little motto next to each one. For this one, it's you got this and can rebuild. You're going to see growth here. This is about tapping into your inner strength, into your own life force energy and your power, and taking an optimistic look at what's happening and realizing, you know what, I'll be able to get through these frustrations, these holdups, excuse me. And anything else that's pushing against me that you may feel, how am I going to do this? Because with Jupiter gives us that optimistic possibility of, this is what's possible for us. This is what I can see. These are the blessings and opportunities that may be coming to me. And Saturn's like, yes, I'm going to help you do this. We are going to do this in a way where you're going to see the growth that you want and the longevity that you want. So both of these combined, Saturn is almost reigning in Jupiter, because Jupiter can go all out. It's almost like I keep getting, when you go to a party, for any of you in any phase of your life, if you've ever gone to parties, you may have had someone who was a designated driver or a safety driver, or someone who was the more responsible person of the group. It was usually me, which is why I bring this up. So this is what I'm sensing with Saturn and Jupiter here. But these energies, amplify. So you're going to get through what is happening, what you are going through, as this lunation unfolds, to see things in a way that you didn't before and receive assistance and support. So that could mean for some of you redoing this area of your life completely from scratch in a new way, so that you can build a solid foundation and you can impart what it is that you're receiving. Next, we have the moon sextiling Saturn and trining Jupiter, so flipped, because obviously these two planetary bodies are opposing, so they're both going to have positive relationships with Jupiter and with Saturn. I get a little help from your friends. And it brought to mind that song from, I think, the Wonder Years, but it's a song itself, not the theme song. But I didn't go into that song. Anyways, I feel like you're going to get a boost in how you're feeling because some of the tension that's coming in, think of this like a storm. You know, throughout a storm, you can see a lot of different phases, a rainbow, sun, maybe hail, then the clouds part, maybe rain. It's like that with this lunation. Because it's in its domicile in Cancer, it's especially powerful. This sucker's like, okay, we're going to harness and all of this energy and shine the light in this area of your life. And you may feel especially more emotional or sensitive to this area of your life that's being highlighted by this lunation. So a boost in your emotions, in your feelings is coming. And I feel like this is going to temper and help balance some of the tense aspects that are happening, especially with the Neptune square that we've had. The moon also receives guidance, or rather assistance, from Jupiter and Saturn in much the same way I discussed earlier. So be open and be ready for big intuitive and psychic nuggets, as well as practical help assistance from folks, especially it could be older folks or people that you may not have expected to come to your assistance. It could be in the form of communicating, of practical help like guidance or mentorship, or offering some type of tool or resource or hand for you to be able to turn this area around in your life. These transits I mentioned highlight a connection to any living elders that you have, any grandparents, any ancestors, and to the past. So that's something that you may want to take note of, because I feel like there's a strong propensity for you to connect to loved ones that have crossed over, for anyone on your spiritual team in particular, but ancestors coming through big time. We have Mercury in Sagittarius conjunct Mars in Sagittarius, so double dose of Sag here. There's tension here because I feel like you're ready to take action in a very direct, straightforward way, perhaps very feisty, very quick. But because of some upcoming tensions with Mercury and Mars squaring Neptune, you may not be able to push through or navigate in the way that you anticipated. That's the key. So the good thing though with Mercury conjuncting Mars is you'll have that inertia, that inner drive, that inertia, that power, that focus to get going on what it is that you would like to change. Perhaps it's finally saying, you know what, I'm ready to release this, I'm ready to let go of this, and I'm ready to move forward. And then you're getting to the point of what does that next point look like for you? And that's where certain lack of clarity, fogginess could come in with the Mercury and Mars squaring Neptune. So I feel like precisely because of these squares to Neptune, or the squares Neptune is making with Mercury and Mars, the way you're going to work through this lunation is not going to be so much with the outwardly movement of getting things done right now, but so much collecting the plan divinely and through your intuition, especially with the Cancer energy. This is about connecting to your ancestry, to your lineage, to your spiritual team, to guides, and receiving information that's going to provide clarity, but you're not going to get it or feel it or think you're going to see it in a practical way. So be careful during these transits of pushing through something or trying to push things. It's like, I keep seeing a cork. You know, when you're trying to put a cork in and it just kind of stays above the bottle? Be careful of pushing it in, because the cork could split, it could go all the way in, something could happen. And you may not, again, it's like a stumbling energy, you may not get the outcome that you desire. So when you're feeling like you're resisting or trying and it's not happening, do the opposite that you've done. Pause, take a time out. It's not time to push through. And there's a reason, because you may not be seeing something, or you may be seeing something, but in a different way, perhaps in the way that you don't want to see it, but you don't recognize it at that time. We have Mercury in Sagittarius trining the North Node in Aries, and Mars also trining the North Node, both in Sagittarius, I should say. So these transits are really about communicating in a different way and using that energy in a different way. And like I've mentioned repeatedly, this has been a theme here. When you are finding yourself in situations that cause frustration, tension, conflict, things are not going the way that you want, and you are ready to give up, you're at your rope's end, think of doing something different that you haven't done before. there's an element too of mindfulness here as well. If you've been pushing through something and you are just finding yourself more resistant, feeling more frustrated, feeling pissed off and annoyed, take a break, take a chill pill, grab a blanket, metaphorically, of course, depending on where you are, and just sit down and relax and put that on pause, let it go. Because the more you keep pushing, the more energy you keep forcing onto something, the more likely you're going to see something erupt in a way that you don't want. It's going to cause some type of mess or something that you may have to undo or rectify that you didn't anticipate, like a communication with someone in a relationship, right? Or some type of messaging. It could be something that comes out in anger and you're like, shit, I didn't mean to say that. And it's really hard with words to undo them, right? They can scar people. So both of them, Mercury and Mars, be really careful of the way you act and what you say. Because I feel like you're going to have the propensity to do it without thinking and without realizing what you're doing. With both of them trining the North Node, though, it really offers support of trying to do things in a different way and growing in a different way, which may be a little bit uncomfortable. That's the point here with the North Node. You're being guided to outgrow out of patterns, belief systems, old ways of doing things, particularly as they relate to your home life. I'm talking about way back, home life, your origins, your roots, your lineage, your ancestry at large, your other generations, perhaps where you come from originally if you're not living where you grew up. So these are themes related to the North Node. It's kind of like outgrowing a favorite pair of jeans. There comes a point where you're like, yeah, for whatever reason, maybe they don't fit, maybe you're like, it's time, but you know that you're going to find something better. Although I don't know about jeans, sometimes it's hard. So again, think about how you can shift. It's all about changing your response to these situations, because you can empower yourself and take back your power. Because when people hear of tension, especially with oppositions and with squares, some people already identify with it and have already given their power away. They're like, well, this is the outcome. I may as well just do this. No, you can do it differently. You can harness your energy in a different way so that, okay, well, maybe things are not going to go in the way that you want or make progress, or you're not going to see that acceleration. But the way you respond is going to allow you to have more peace and to retain more peace than that situation itself, because it'll eventually work itself out. It may not be at that direct moment, which is what Mercury and Mars may want, but Neptune's like, got some mulling over to think over and some more things that we want to show you, but you can't see right now. Hence the fogginess. So I also got here something that came up too. For some of you that have been in particular patterns with other people, relationships, I feel like Mercury and Mars trining the North Node is going to allow you to see some of the games, manipulations, sweet talk, things that people have been telling you, but you're not really seeing that support in action, in 3D, in a physical way, or that allows you to grow with them and by yourself. Because you may be feeling tied, and this could be not just relationships, although this is what I got in the beginning. It could be with a job, a particular goal that you're pursuing, or something you've been doing health-wise, whatever it is, and whatever area of life that this lunation is highlighting for you. I feel like you're going to come to that awareness, because some of what came through, especially with the squares in Neptune, the higher octave is having faith, is surrendering. When you can't see in the physical 3D what it is that you want, in other words, your progress, your accomplishments, the answer, you're being guided to go within and connect to something bigger, something stronger. Prayer, meditation, your spiritual team, ancestors, especially for this lunation, but also faith. It's almost like when you have been trying to submit something online and the stupid processing system or server keeps shutting down, and you're like, how the hell am I going to submit this if it's not working? You know, when you ever fill out a form, you press submit and it says error, and then you have to fill it out again. This is the energy that's happening. And so I do feel like with the square in Neptune, it's going to highlight something in you. If you can tap into that higher expression of Neptune, you may finally say, you know what, I'm going to take some time out, meditate, maybe do yoga or take a cup of tea and just sit this one out and allow myself to connect in a different way. Because that's what this is asking you, point blank. We got Venus in Scorpio squaring Saturn in Pisces. Again, another stress point, tension point, disharmony, especially around Venusian themes, finances, or relationships of all kinds. In particular, love. It can be about your appearance, physical appearance, beauty, pleasures, how you enjoy things, how you find delight in different things, your value system, worth. There could be some point of tension here, and I feel like it has to do with resolving some baggage from the past about or around insecurities, fears, a repeating pattern or belief system that you have had. And I feel like this is coming up for healing largely. These squares are they're points of contention for reason, because I feel like they're door stoppers. This is what I get energetically. They're door stoppers for us to say, wait a minute. Okay, I'm seeing this shit again come up. What's going on? For money, maybe you've been going to the ATM machine and you're like, why am I not able to withdraw money? And maybe you're what is it called? Overdrafting money, or you're not following or paying attention in a conscious way how you're using your money. Maybe in love, especially with this, maybe there's insecurities that have led to sabotaging relationships and you're seeing a pattern now. Or there's themes where you may be feeling controlled, or you are controlling someone or something in the relationship. So there's a lot of things that could be coming up. So highlight, especially with relationships and anything around those Venusian themes I mentioned, highlight for yourself anything that you've seen that's been causing some type of inner conflict or outward conflict with another. Because if these repeated bumps keep happening, it's important to spend some time alone to reflect and to ask yourself what's going on here, because you have the answer. You'll be able to determine and see, oh shit, this is the pattern I've been seeing with the way that I spend my money, or the way that I'm investing, or what I'm allowing into my bubble, or the relationships that I've had. Venus is also trining Neptune and Pisces and sextiling Pluto, which are positive aspects here, because this brings to us some type of, I feel, a transition point where we're able to see either something or someone, we're able to see something that someone may have done to us in the past related to some of this baggage, insecurity, fears. It could be like trauma or some type of trigger with the square to Saturn. But I feel like with the trine to Neptune and the sextile to Pluto, we're able to see it in a different way, in a way that allows us to perhaps dive into compassion, forgiveness, and that could transmute itself into unconditional love. Doesn't mean that you reunite or that you're like, yes, I'm glad I had this pattern, but it allows you to see things in a very different way, because this is a deeply transformative process, especially since Pluto's in Scorpio and it's making a sextile to Pluto in Capricorn. There's something about changing up structures here, belief systems, the foundations. A lot of foundations are being wiped. Almost like when you press reset on your odometer in the car, it goes to zero. It's similar to that. Having questions about, is this what I really want? Do I really want to be in this relationship? Do I really value this? Do I want to continue spending in this way? So there's a shift happening in something that you may have been doing long term in a way that you thought felt safe, in a way that perhaps at that season in your life provided safety or fun or some type of nourishment, because the moon taps into all of those, but there's different levels, kind of like a garage. When you go to a shopping mall, you know, those fancy shopping malls with different levels, but even regular malls, there's different expressions too of the moon. And so these are questions that you may want to also tap into that could help you reflect even further for this lunation. The square Venus has with Saturn, it also brings up, am I learning the lessons that I need to? That's where the reflective process is really helpful during this time, especially if you're seeing repeated shit and not the good kind. Not, oh, I'm getting blessed with, you know, financial opportunities. No one's going to reflect on it. They're like, keep coming, you know, I'm grateful for that. But if you're finding things that are not so blissful, or they don't feel like a blessing in your life, and you're like, why am I attracting or getting a lot of people in my life that treat me this way, or whatever the case is, that's something that Saturn wants you to look at here. Saturn's like, wait a minute, did you learn this? So think about, again, repeating themes, because those are probably lessons for you that Saturn's asking you. Hey, we want you to grow. We want you to value yourself, especially with the communication between Venus and Saturn. We want you to love yourself first, but not at the expense of another. Not for this reason. Don't allow your bubble to become an open, market for anyone to trespass. Like I mentioned earlier, this lunation is really about peeking into the past. So some of this that I've been talking about, and some of these energetic alignments that I've discussed could be tied or have answers or more information tied to your past in this incarnation, childhood, adolescence, or in previous lives, because I feel like that's going to allow you to shift something and grow and let go. We have Jupiter in Taurus sextiling Saturn in Pisces. This is very supportive energy, and again, these are outer planets, so you'll see this continuing. It's not just a one-day event, but this is very supportive energy to build slow and steady, to grow, especially with Saturn here and with Taurus energy. And I feel like this has to relate again with Venusian themes. Remember, whoever you add to your team or whatever your team consists of, make sure there are folks that uplift you and that want to also grow, and not just grow for the week and then they call it quits, because that's going to impact you with this energy. But I feel like because it's a positive sextile, it's going to allow you to start connecting because of your shifts in values. That's what Jupiter and Taurus speaks of too. You're going to connect to people that are in alignment, that also support you in the way that you want to be supported and nourished, but also allows you to grow so that you can continue forward on your journey. Jupiter is also squaring Pluto. So this speaks to our value system, our beliefs, which may not always align or be similar to others. So this is something that's coming up heavily. And I feel like, again, there's that tension between the past and the present too, but also the future. And some of you, I feel, are still undergoing a transformation, a redo, an updating perhaps of your values, your belief systems, and your philosophies. Because a lot of that we tend to bring and carry forward from our past, from our childhood. Not everyone. It depends on where you are at. Everyone's at different parts of their journey, different levels. What are you going to do though when you come into contact, especially with folks in your family, however you define it, where you may not agree or you may not have similar values or belief systems, because this is something Pluto is speaking of. Because I feel, again, there's a tie to the past with Pluto and Capricorn. There's something that wants to be demolished, that wants to be transformed completely. And I feel like it has to do with many of you. It could be your culture, your societal influence, your family life, particular person within that family. Because these outdated beliefs, values, ways of being, ways of living, I feel like they supported you at one point in your life and they helped you. But then you got to a certain point where you're like, whoa, this isn't really helping me. It's holding me back. That's why there's a lot of energy I've been feeling about clearing the past, because it's difficult to move forward when you still have a foot in the past. We have the North Node conjuncting Chiron, both in Aries. So they're going to be bumping together until January 29, 2025, until the North Node shifts into Pisces, because Chiron is going to be in Aries until April 14, 2027. And we have the North Node in Aries until 2025. So again, both are making dances with one another, more like bumping heads and being annoying dance partners. And there's going to be an exact conjunction happening at 17 degrees on February 25th, 2024. So remember and take a look at the Aries part of your life, because you may have felt like it's been a ping pong or a racquetball game. Ping pong, it's kind of lighter. The ping pong ball itself is lighter. The racquetball, if you've ever seen it, it moves really quickly. So that's the energy I've been getting with that. You feel like you're making progress and then you're not, and there's a stop and go here, because there's a lot of healing happening with the North Node and with Chiron moving together, especially in Aries. There's a sense of trying to individuate yourself, separate yourself from systems. I'll say that broadly: systems, belief systems, ways of thinking, what you thought you needed to be or act like, who you were, how you related to others. There's a way of needing to separate ourselves from that and create a new path, while also honoring the past or what was part of our past so that we can go forward. There's a lot of identifying who we are, what we value, what's important to us outside of what we grew up out of. Because so many times we tend to regurgitate or repeat belief systems and ways of thinking like our parents did. Ever wonder, as you get older, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm starting to sound like my mom or dad or whoever took care of you, my grandparents, my uncle, my aunt, whoever. You may find a repetition there, but sometimes you may also feel like, I'm sensing with this lunation, well, there's a tension point here and I'm not really feeling like I can relate to a lot of the belief systems or structures or values that my family grew up in, or what I thought I believed in before. Something is shifting here. This transit is really asking for us to grow, to head that way, head to your true north, hence the North Node. That's how I energetically see it. Keep going that way, in the direction of growth. Don't go back only to get information or to remember something if it was pleasant for you, right? But don't go back into patterns, into things that didn't serve you, that didn't help you, that tied you down, that didn't allow you to be who you are, or to develop into who you are, or who you want to be. So final note here, this lunation is about cleaning out your home emotionally, your crab shell, if you will, and really redefining what emotional safety means to you, what it looks like, who it involves. Because I feel like there's something new that's wanting to start here, but something has to be let go, hence this full moon. There's an old pattern, an old way of doing, of being in this Cancerian area of your life where, you know what, it's not working. I am ready to grow and move on to the next thing. Okay, let's look at the degree theory. We have this happening at 4 degrees. And this is actually the degree point for Cancer. So some themes associated have largely, we have water here. A lake, swimming pool, liquid water, tears, milk, beer, dairy products, a house, a home, a threshold, an entrance, women, mother, public opinion, public patriotism, nations, the human race, people, the family, roots, the breasts, chest, passed down items, hometown, origin, dreams, shells, pearls, and the moon. And I also want to say the Gemini full moon that happened on November, I believe it was 27th. I'll link it here. That was also at a 4 degree point as well. So again, these lunations, they're all interconnected. They're all tied. They're always speaking to one another, hence the cycle of the moon. So there's elements here of release. I felt, and this is something I talk about with the channeled messages, when I first meditated and was getting the insights for this whole analysis on this full moon, I got a lot of water, but I saw a faucet. So there's a lot of emotions that I feel like have to be cleansed, that have to be purged, that have to come out. And this is a beautiful time to do it because it's cleansing, it's purifying. Crying is one of the best ways. You always feel better after a good cry. And a lot of these themes I mentioned talk about that. They also talk, secondly, about nurturance, comfort, what that means to you. And there's a new way of doing many of these themes that this degree point is indicating, but it's really highlighting this is a full-on Cancer moon. You're going to feel the emotions. The energy is going to be, I feel, a lot stronger because Cancer is in its home. Excuse me, the moon is in its home here in Cancer. The Sabian symbol for Cancer is at 5 degrees, and we have here the message is at a railroad crossing. A car races with a train. I'll read you what the excerpt says. It says, the symbol implies the desire or the ability to compete with or take on society as if life were a race or something to be conquered. The car is a vehicle for the individual and the train a vehicle for the masses. There's often a need for caution. The individual will not always survive a collision with the more powerful collective. It may not work to be insisting bravely that your individual needs should be considered. The collective has too much momentum. If someone pits themselves and their energies continuously, let me read that again. If someone pits themselves and their energies continually against society, sooner or later they are likely to lose. Not looking to the consequences of one's actions, running against the grain of others, cars, trains, individual rights, rebelling, split-second timing, taking one's chances, recklessness, being prepared to sacrifice others, working until one drops, not knowing when to stop, emotional panic, spinning out of control, going off the rails. There's a demarcation here that I've sensed throughout this expression with the Sabian symbol at 5 degrees of Cancer. And I feel like there's something that the energy coming through here before was of competing with the past and the present and of reconciling that. That has been a theme that I feel has been carried on for months now, where we may be trying to keep something from the past the same in the present, knowing that in order to proceed on our journey, we have to grow, something has to change. And that's the hardest part, because with Cancerian energy, there's a lot of nostalgia, a lot of remembering, a lot of wanting things perhaps to be a certain way because of the past, of what it represented, even if it was good or bad, because people find comfort in some type of repetition, of some type of familiarity, whether that's dysfunction or a healthy environment. That's why this connects to many different patterns in your life. If you've grown up in dysfunction, you may be attracted to people that are also dysfunctional. And you may not even realize it until you start looking at the relationships you've had and you're like, shit, they're just like my parents were, or my caretakers, or my siblings, or whatever it was. So there's this demarcation here that I'm getting where time is catching up to you. Hence Saturn with Capricorn and the moon with Cancer, time is catching up. And there's going to be a point here where you're going to be at your own railroad crossing, where you're going to have to decide for yourself with this lunation and going forward, because I feel the energies are going to unfold differently for everyone in their own timeline. Whether or not you want to leave this pattern, this belief system, whatever way that wasn't working for you, that did in the past, it's connected to the past somehow here. The main point here is something that has persisted for so long needs to change so that you can grow. You can't keep doing the same thing or bringing the same thing into the present and into the future. And I feel like this is also highlighting something that you've been trying to make work, but it hasn't worked in the way that you wanted. Maybe you've been trying to make a relationship work. And you're like, okay, we've done counseling, therapy, we've talked, we've done this, but you're just not seeing the growth that you want, and you're feeling more held back. It can bring up a lot of guilt, a lot of emotions when you're trying, and you can even see the other person trying, but you're not feeling it. And this lunation is going to highlight that. Where are those feelings at odds? What is that discrepancy telling you? Because it doesn't mean, because a lot of times people denote when something has to end, it has to be vicious, dramatic, horrible, like a big firework, you know? It doesn't. You could simply have run its course. Excuse me, that could have run its course. You could have run your course with that, where something, you know, has come to an end. That's why some people leave jobs and they're like, you know what, I need to challenge myself differently. I want to grow. Maybe you can't grow where you're at. Same thing with when people need to change career fields, or after raising kids, for those of you that are parents and they flock the nest, who are you? You have to redefine yourself in a different way. So there's so many things coming right now, and this is what's being highlighted here. So think about it in your own life. What have you been putting in a lot of energy and time and work to make something work, and you're just not seeing that growth that you want? Perhaps you're not feeling that emotional connection, safety, security. You're not seeing what it is that you want transform. And you could have been at this for a long time too. I get that with the Capricorn Cancer nexus here, because some of you have been trying and persisting for a long time, especially with other people and especially in certain patterns. Could be maybe trying to honor your parents or trying to do something so that people accept you in a certain way, and you're like, I can't do this anymore. It doesn't fit me. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't align to where I want to go. So remember, you can't always take everyone or everything with you when you go forward. And perhaps this is akin to the train, the Sabian Symbol expression here about the train. You got to make a decision sometimes to drop the weight, to drop a suitcase, and move forward. You can't stagnate or hold yourself back for anyone. That's the whole point here with this lunation. For some of you, I also got putting yourself first and honoring your needs is going to be one of the biggest challenges for you with this lunation, especially if you haven't done it before, or you've always been someone that has acquiesced to others' demands, or that has followed other people's belief systems or patterns, or you simply listen to other people instead of listening to yourself. So there may be a lot of emotions and release happening around that because you're doing something differently for yourself. Also had the numerology of 4. So this really speaks to your foundation, to your stability, to your home and what it means to you. Not just your physical home, it's emotional too. The home that you carry in here when you're not in the physical presence of the sanctuary, of the abode. Because some folks, they don't have physical homes. So you learn to redefine what home means to you in a more spiritual, energetic sense. That's where you gain and retain that emotional sense of safety. This numerology also speaks to authority, power, rule and rulership, stability and security, consistency and discipline. And we've seen some of these themes already come up. Practical and rational, the pursuit of knowledge may trump or preside over wealth or money acquisition. Investment, building, working hard, determined, learners and teachers. So this full moon in Cancer is really about rebuilding or strengthening the stability in your life in a way that feels good so that you can see the outcome that you want. And also with the people. With people, that's why I kept getting, and for some of you, it's important that you connect with people that you can trust, because Cancer needs to trust someone, excuse me, to communicate their feelings, to be vulnerable, to be expressive. And for some of you in the area of life that Cancer is hitting, some of you may not have experienced that. And that might be highlighted too by Chiron too in Aries. So take a look to see what relationships and how they're communicating in your chart. Because I feel like the stability is going to reside too on the folks, the actors, the moving pieces that are involved. I also kept getting here, I don't remember that song. I think it was Beck, I'm a Loser, but I kept hearing it. And I didn't go into it too much because there was a lot I already had worked on with the channeled songs. But I always keep channeling messages. I felt the energy in someone saying, I'm a loser because I couldn't do this successfully or succeed like others did in this way. It could be in your professional environment, like your peers, or in your family environment, siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, parents, the lineage itself. But you're not meant to do it that way. That's the whole point. Some of you that are connecting here, it wasn't the right way for you to do it, which doesn't mean it's wrong, because it's just one of many ways. And those particular folks adopted that way. And so everyone thought, well, this is the way, right? This has to be the only way to success, or the way that you define success. But it's time to let that go, because I feel like what's coming to you with these divine messages and also practical support, resources, teachers, like I mentioned earlier, it's really going to allow you to connect and to create your own sense of stability that's going to allow you to succeed in this Cancerian energy of your life. I'm having difficulty speaking, you guys. Okay. Something too, when I was typing it, because I put, it's time to let that go here. It's time to let go of something that doesn't, it's not helping you. It's an antiquated way of living in this time in your life, in this season. And I channeled a song by Andrea Bocelli, Conte Partirò. And then I looked up the song to research it, and there's an English version with Sarah Brightman, Time to Say Goodbye. So I linked both of them, the Italian original version and then the duet, which the beginning of the song in the English and Spanish translations have the Italian like preamble, the beginning, but the rest is in English. And there were mixed meanings of this translation. So very quickly, this was really about appreciating what was given to you, what was provided for you, the way that maybe your ancestors, your family, the structures that you were a part of provided you some way of living, existing, coping, and growing during that phase of your life. For whatever reason, good or bad, however you denote it, because it allowed you to determine your own needs and what safety meant for you. I'm not going to go into the lyrics for this. I do encourage you to as well if you connect to the song, because it's almost, it gives you that Neptunian vibe, because even when folks translated this, I guess it has a different connotation in Italian and English, and people didn't know if the person that was in the lyrics, you know, what the lyrics are speaking about, if the person was saying goodbye to their lover, to their counterpart, like a friend or someone, or if they were saying goodbye to experiences and they were traveling with that person. So it's a little bit enigmatic, which is interesting, but Still, I feel like this is about growth and learning that you can honor the past. You can have reverence. You can remember it, but you can also say, I'm here to create something different and on my own, for my own self. Especially, remember, with North Node and Chiron, especially with North Node and Aries, but Chiron may be bringing up those wounds again of maybe not being enough, of not succeeding in the way other people did, especially close to you or in your family or in your career, or whatever area that's being highlighted. So I feel like the inundation of songs that came through with Jim Croce, particularly since he was a Saturn sun, and I think he was a Pisces moon and rising. It was interesting that it came through for this lunation because it really touched and highlighted the point of ephemerality, of how short life really is, of how fleeting time is, and how our greatest resource is time. So for any of you that have been stuck, whatever ways, relationship, a pattern, a theme, this is letting you know that how you choose to spend your time here is important, because you won't ever get back that time that has already passed. And again, I want to also say this isn't to judge anyone, to shame anyone. No, because no human here is perfect. But this is simply to say, moving forward and at this juncture in your life with this lunation, what can I let go of that is not helping me? Especially with my emotional stability, especially with how I define in terms of my home, emotionally, energetically, spiritually, and in the Cancerian energies or themes, areas, I should say, of your life. What are you ready to release that you've known is not working for you, that you know you've repeated over and over, and you're like, nope, I don't want to do this again. I'm ready to see a different outcome. I'm ready to grow in a different way. Particularly if you have people involved, like if this is about a relationship that's being highlighted, or a situation at work, or another dynamic, whatever it is. Okay, the first song I channeled was Jim Croce's Operator, That's Not the Way It Feels, from 1966. He wrote this when he was in the National Guard training duty in the Carolinas. And this was all in my research. He was standing in line with other servicemen waiting to use the payphones, and he heard a lot of personal conversations, because folks are usually updating their loved ones when they connect over a phone, updates, etc. And the song was about making contact with a past love and the difficulty of moving on. And that's the energy that I feel like many people are having with this lunation. Again, about the past and the present. Closing the door on something. Perhaps it brings up shame or guilt that you may be doing things in a different way, or you may be letting go of something or a belief system. Something that was repeated with this song, Operator, was letting go. That was a difficulty, letting go, because I feel like they're holding on to memories, to perhaps a time or a place when this situation or the relationship was in a good place. Whatever it was, there's something that's keeping you in the past. And that's something that you need to ask yourself, well, why? Why am I staying here? And I feel like many people are already like intuitively, intrinsically, instinctually, all the eyes, you already know. And I think that's one of the hardest parts with this Cancerian energy, because it's extremely nostalgic. And it's asking you to remember here, to almost do a review. A lot of reviewing energy here. And this is obviously coinciding with Mercury retrograding in Sagittarius at this time, before in Capricorn. So an excerpt from the lyrics says, Operator, oh, let's forget about this call. There's no one there I really wanted to talk to. Thank you for your time. You've been so much more than kind. You can keep the dime. But isn't that the way they say it goes? Well, let's forget all that. And give me the number if you can find it, so I can call just to tell him I'm fine. And to show I've overcome the blow, I've learned to take it well. I only wish my words could just convince myself that it just wasn't real, but that's not the way it feels. My voice has gradually become hoarse, and I haven't talked throughout the day, just one phone call. My voice has been becoming very hoarse with this recording. So, and again, we have some tense aspects with Mercury. So there could be something you need to communicate with yourself, with family, with others, with a particular person in a relationship that may be difficult. It could be a letting go. It could be speaking your truth or acknowledging this is where I'm at and who I am, knowing that they may not accept it or they may not feel the same way. There's difficulty here, I feel, with communication happening. The second song that came through was Time in a Bottle. It was wrote in 1970 and released in 1973, also by Jim Croce. And I'll link all these songs below, you guys, in the description box in the comment area. Again, I have to say, I don't get anything out of it. I don't make money out of this. I'm simply linking them for reference so you guys can listen to them and explore them. See what comes up for you, because you're going to get your own messages. So this also highlights the theme around time. A lot of his songs highlight themes around time. I felt like when I was connecting to his energy and some of his videos, he was an old soul, ahead of his time, very Saturnian. He brings up the notion that time is ephemeral, and it goes just like that. It just evaporates before your eyes. It's interesting how he did things earlier. Perhaps on a deep soul level, he knew that he was going to be exiting. He did a lot of things early in expressing his sentiments through songs. So our most valuable resource in this life, again, is time, because we can never get it back. Once it's gone, it's gone. And this lunation occurs during the season of Capricorn. Well, the full moon in Cancer always does so. So we have these themes being highlighted too. And I feel like through the Jim Croce songs, he also highlights this as well about the past. There's a bunch of simultaneous themes coming through about honoring the past and who you were, even if you didn't like your origins, your roots, or you had contentious issues or difficulties, or you're still healing. There's something about honoring it in a way, because you wouldn't be here at all. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have that preceding ancestor there and the others. So anyways, Jim Croce wrote the song Time in a Bottle when he found out his wife Ingrid was going to have a baby. Apparently, according to some commentary she made in an interview, he wrote it the night that she told him that they were going to be expecting a baby, and it became a hit posthumously. An excerpt from the lyrics: if I could save time in a bottle, the first thing that I'd like to do is to save every day till eternity passes away, just to spend them with you. But there never seems to be enough time to do the things you want to once you find them. I've looked around enough to know that you're the one I want to go through time with. So there's simply, the main message here, there simply is not going to be enough time here to do what you want to do. But at least you can make the most of what it is that you want to do in the now. Because there's a point here, there's an energy coming up of longevity here, of stuckness that's been repeating here. So think about what you don't want to see again in your life, especially as we are about to enter 2024. This full moon in Cancer represents the last lunation for 2023, and perhaps it's very fitting because there's increased emotions associated with this. There's something about letting go of the past, letting go of endings. We're ending something big here. And for many, it could also coincide with Pluto and Capricorn's journey, which is coming to an end next November 2024. There's a shitload of emotions for many folks. Capricorn, Cancer have been big themes, especially Pluto and Capricorn for so many people. It's completely transformed, perhaps demolished in many ways, and transformed in a strengthened way people's lives. So think about whether or not you want to continuously stay stuck where you are in this area of your life, or an area that's repeating, that has not demonstrated, I should say, progress. The next song by him, they came through like jukeboxes. Photographs and Memories, 1974. Again, this highlights the past, remembering, connecting, and not forgetting. Hence the elements that he talks about, photographs and memories. Sometimes what can be really helpful, especially when you're healing or trying to make peace with the past in some way, is finding glimpses of moments when you were happy, or redefining it in a different way, like revising it. Sometimes mementos can help you. Sometimes they don't. It's going to be different for everyone. So some of you may need to get rid of these things because the energy can be affecting you. And some of you may want to create an altar or a little area where you hang up that photograph, to remember where you came from and to remember who you are now, because it doesn't mean it defines you. So the next song that I channeled was Carlos Gardel, Volver, which means to return in English. 1934, Spanish song. So you can look for the English translations, because I included the original link and it has the Spanish links. This was composed by the lyricist Alfredo Lepera and also Gardel, who was from Argentina. So it highlights, again, this song really highlights pain, nostalgia, looking back in the past. It's tied to also exile, because there were a lot of conflicts and disappearances with the dirty war in Argentina. So some Argentinians connect to the song in the same way. You'll hear it in tango spaces too, but it highlights the brevity of time. When you listen to it, you don't even have to speak the language or understand the words, but you'll feel it. And there's a clip somewhere where you can see him singing it, and you can just tell there's a longing for something. Perhaps a longing for wishing things could be different or could have been different, and they're not. And there's an acceptance element here too. The song also highlighted a past love. Many of these songs was connected to love, but this is something bigger too, because I always ask that you look beyond just what the lyrics may infer what you're feeling. But this is also to a love that connects you to the past that may have kept you or is keeping you stuck. And I feel like that's why it's hard for so many folks to let go, to release and to heal, because there's something that you're remembering that you wish something could have happened in a different way. And that's that point of contention that I feel there needs to be some type of peace or resolve or resolution. Sadly, 3 months after recording that song, Gardel and Lepera, they both died in a plane crash, similar to Jim Croce, who also died with his musician partner, Maury, in a plane crash. And there have been a lot of renditions that have been made about the song. And for any of you that have seen the movie with Penelope Cruz, Volver, she sings it in a flamenco style. But some of the lyrics in English that I found here: I am afraid of the encounter with the past that returns, to confront my life. I am afraid of the nights that, filled with memories, shackle my dreams. But the traveler that flees sooner or later stops his walking. And although forgetfulness, which destroys all, has killed my old dream, I keep concealed a humble hope. That is my heart's whole fortune, to live, with the soul clutched to a sweet memory that I'd cry once again. So this lunation may be bringing up a lot from your past, whether it's in connection to, the Cancerian theme of your life, to a relationship, to a belief system and outlook, or why things are happening the way they are. And that's where I feel like there's going to be a lot of releasing through tears, through the water element here. So the main message with this lunation in connection to these songs was to cherish what was, to really give gratitude and appreciation, because as you get older, I would say, especially as you get older, how you were at 18, 20, 30, 50, 60, 70, 80, it changes profoundly. I know when I was 18 and then 20 and 30, it completely changed the way I looked at things as I enter my 40s now. And I feel like this is the same energy many of you are also feeling. It's important to heal from the past and learn from it, but not get stuck in it, not grow in the past or try to bring it with you, because it's going to almost create some type of blockage that won't enable you to grow. And I feel like that's where the sense of safety may come from something in the past that maybe helped you at one point in your life, but doesn't help you anymore. So you're being asked to go for something different. That's where the discomfort is. So let's get going with the messages. Message number 1, turn off the faucet, then dry it. This spoke about emotions and feelings, those that were repressed, those that you may have been pushing down or not wanting to feel. But whatever the reason, there's something that's causing a leakage in your energy. And you may have just been feeling, it could be bringing up feelings of fatigue, of tiredness, perhaps confusion, also different emotions. Because the faucet that I saw, one of them had drops leaking one by one. Almost when you have a faucet that needs to be, a valve has to be tightened because it's leaking, you know, and not only will it cost you money in the long run, which is really not the point of this, but you're leaking life force energy here. So some of you have been thinking about something that hasn't been resolved, and you're thinking about it over and over and over, and it's affecting the Cancerian area of your life or some type of pattern that has a larger implication for your journey, for your soul journey. Same thing with the faucet I saw with lots of water coming out. I feel like some of you need a good cry. That's another way, that's another form of therapy. Screen therapy, crying. Ever notice when you cry, you feel really relieved? You feel better? And many people tend to sleep soundly after that. I would say for this lunation suggestion, allow yourself to cry or to scream out or get out those emotions in some way. Some people can do it in writing, but because of the emotions that I felt here, they're heavy, they're pent up. Some of them have been like stored. So I don't know if journaling can do that. I feel like journaling will be helpful afterwards. Perhaps putting on a movie, songs, a soundtrack, something that'll help you connect to those emotions, whatever you feel. It's important to identify it. Sadness, grief, anger, etc. Because then you can align that to the music. That's going to help start getting those blocks out, the energy blocks. I suggest letting it out because this is what the message was implying here. Some of you may have a foot stuck in the past because of something you're entertaining or repeating. A lot of it's repeating. And when we have that, our energy is leaking because even if the person or the situation is no longer physically present in our life, energetically, it's still there. So it's still leaking that energy. So some of you may have been feeling that. Some of you may have been feeling exhausted, tired, especially around these themes that keep coming up for you. You may be feeling withdrawn in a way from certain elements that have popped up for you. So getting it out is going to be key here, that it just kept coming up for me over and over. This is also about shifting into complete acceptance. And complete acceptance is really important to denote this. It's not about saying it was okay or forgiveness even. Acceptance is simply saying, okay, this is what happened. That's it. You're just stating the facts. It doesn't mean you agree with it. It doesn't mean you condone it. It doesn't mean you're love and lighting it. Nothing. It simply means it is what it is, and I'm just tired of fighting it and trying to change something that I can't. Because once something happens, you can't do anything about it. And this is where the emotions connected. So really pay attention to things that have been repeating. I feel like I should just put a repeating like CD on the cover of the thumbnail here. I channeled a song during this message as well. Screamin' Jay Hawkins' song, I Put a Spell on You. He originally sang it, wrote it 1956. We've had other renditions, right? Nina Simone, Annie Lennox, Bette Midler, and Hocus Pocus. You can listen to that song, but there's something that I feel has entrapped, I don't know if that's a word, encaptured you, entrapped, enticed, tranced, something that I feel has long gotten a hold of you that's coming up with this lunation that's ready to be closed down, that's ready to be released, that's ready to be accepted and acknowledged and almost processed, like grief. It's time for that next stage. Message number 2, redefine family. This came in very strongly about redefining what family means to you, what it looks like, because I feel like as values shift, as philosophies and ways of being shift, some of you may not feel or connect in the same way to your nuclear family, your blood family in the same way. And this is about asking yourself, well, what's important to me? What does family even mean to me? A lot of questions came up here for me. What does family mean to you? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And who does it involve? How will you know when you've connected with family? Because some of you, I feel, are defining that, going through a transition process. And it doesn't mean that you may not connect to your family, but it may not be in the same way that you thought. Because this moon, Cancer, is about nourishment. Where do we get our nourishment from? Some of you may be mothers. Some of you may be looking for mother-type energies or nourishment, comfort. And some of you simply represent that archetype. You don't have to be a mother. You can do it in different ways. People do it through animals or by taking care of others. but simply it's the energy and the embodiment of that energy that's being highlighted here. So this really goes back to your value systems, boundaries, foundations, who you allow in and out of your life. They have shifted a lot, so that means relationships have shifted as a result. So this is something too that may be popping up with you with relationships, because we have a shitload of transformative energy around relationships and will until 2025, when the nodal points shift from Aries Libra to Pisces Virgo, and when Aries finally leaves Chiron 2027. Message number 3, don't you forget about me. I laughed when I received this because I thought it was about that song, and I heard the song too, Simple Minds. This is about your ancestors. Some of you, your ancestors have been trying to connect with you, have been sending you messages, signs, and some of you may not have seen it because you may not be connecting to them. You may not have made space or energy to do that. Some of you may be preoccupied or busy with other things. For whatever reason, this came up also very strongly about connecting to your ancestors, especially for those of you that are redefining what family means to you, what connection, values, structures mean to you, how you want to be taken care of, how you want to take care of yourself. Healing, forgiveness, releasing, love, all of these themes are also being highlighted with this lunation, especially with other people and to the past. So I feel like connecting with your ancestors is going to give you a big piece of the puzzle. You don't even have to know them. This goes for adopted folks and bio, those with biological families, and both. You can simply connect through meditation and ask and wait. You got to be patient here. They will come through to you in different ways. For those of you that may have mementos or some type of artifact or anything representing them, you can get it out and you create a little space for them if you want to connect. Another suggestion is finding something that you feel spiritually or energetically represents them. It could be a crystal, a stone, a memento, a figurine, a token, whatever it is. Or you can simply denote a special spot for them and put flowers. But there's something here about connecting to them, because I feel like they're going to impart wisdom for you. For many of you, you are the people that are healing your family tree if you're connecting here. When you can be part of your family or family system in the way that you want, what do you do? Because I feel like connecting to your ancestors is going to really strengthen your lineage, even if you're apart from them, even if they're long gone. Genealogy, roots, connection, family, ancestors all came up about redefining it and seeking that greater connection, perhaps in terms of identifying who you are, where you come from, learning more about yourself. But I also feel like this has to do with transmuting, because I feel like those that I'm connecting to with this energy that came through, you're doing things in a different way that maybe others in your line haven't done, and also others where you have grown up culturally or in the society that you came from didn't do it this way. So there's something different that's being noted here. Your ancestors also want to provide guidance, but they can't without you letting them know, hey, it's okay, come on in. So that's something to note too. This is also strongly connecting to healing something you've experienced as a challenge or a hardship in your life, or something that's been a part of your family system. I keep getting it, and I feel like it's tied to some of the repetition that's been coming up and that I've mentioned. So the lyrics here from this song, an excerpt of them: will you stand above me, look my way, never love me, rain keeps falling, down, 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 will you recognize me, call my name or walk on by, rain keeps falling, down, down, down. So if you're feeling at this point in your life separated, disconnected, abandoned, or alone, know that this is another way to strengthen not just your emotional stability, but the connection to yourself and to who and where you came from. Finally, fourth message, build your emotional safety net. This is huge. This is about your emotional and physical safety, especially as it pertains to your body, your energetic, psychic, etheric bodies, but also up here. Since the moon rules your intuition, or I should say it's the body where we feel that, your emotions, your feelings. Things have been changing really, really quickly. There's been a succession and a rapidity, like really quickly, where things are turning and moving so fast that sometimes it can cause a form of it feels more energetic, but you may feel it too tangibly, like an instability in your life where it feels like, oh, let me get my balance. Let me feel a little bit more grounded. Can leave us feeling very vulnerable. Whatever is happening around you, sometimes it has a propensity to affect us. And the main point of this message was strengthening your inner sense of peace, of safety, of security, of stability, so that even if things continuously change outside of you, you'll remain intact inside. This was the biggest thing that I feel is important, because so many times we give our power away to things that happen outside of us, whether through our emotional expressions, what we say to people, the conflicts we engage in, or whatever we pursue. And the astrology I've already discussed highlights some of this. Rethinking the ways we communicate and express, rethinking the ways that we are doing what we're doing. Remember, something to know is that safety is not found outside of us. It's all found within us. And this is really speaking about the spiritual, divine connection to yourself, but also to something bigger. That's why ancestors came through strongly. Some of them are ready, they've been ready and are here to guide you, but they can't intervene. They can't come in unless you connect with them and ask for their assistance. Some people say also that homes are the safest, but for so many people, homes are not, because you may be living with other people, it may be dysfunctional, and it may be very chaotic. So the home itself may not be safe. That's why there's a strong emphasis with this message on creating safety up here, which is why I started off this video about home, in the heart, the cosmos, etc., because it's going to be outside of what you normally delineate. So in short, this full moon in Cancer is really about fortifying our emotions, releasing what doesn't feel good, releasing who doesn't feel good, releasing the past, the hold that it may have had on us, and trying to do things in this season of our life, in this present age, in a way that maybe adheres to the past, but is very limiting, because that's where we're needing to put a guillotine effort. Okay, this is done. We're ready to go forward. That's why a lot of spiritual elements are being highlighted here. Cancer does rule spirituality as well as many other signs too. Your spiritual practice and connection, those two are the only places that you can go home to that no one will ever be able to take away from you. So that's something to remember. You all, thank you so much for being here with me. Again, the themes highlighted really focus on emotional security, fortifying that, strengthening yourself, releasing the past. This lunation is really about that. Some of you, it could be a recent past, but I feel like for many folks, it's deeply rooted in something way, way in the past, longer in the past, earlier in this lifetime or in a previous lifetime. Because wherever you may find yourself repeating certain things in the Cancerian area of your life, or where you're wanting to do things in a different way, you're being called to connect to that. If there's anything that you feel is still up, is still calling to you, has been on your mind, that's something to pay attention to so that you can resolve, because these issues are wanting to resolve or wanting to be dealt with and healed so that you can move forward in your life. Thank you so much for being here again. I truly appreciate you all. Comment down below. Let me know what's been coming up for you, if these messages resonate. What have you been feeling? It helps not just me, but it helps other people too that are also looking for solace and guidance, especially if you are on a spiritual path. As you may know, it can be difficult to connect with like-minded folks the more that you are in this, because there's a lot of healing and work that many of us are doing. So I'm wishing you a beautiful, healing, cathartic full moon in Cancer, and I will see you in the next lunar video. Take care.